Welcome to Three Spiritual Leaders, One Question. Once again, we're broadcasting from Ville, a city without walls, built for reflection, a place of peace. And it is right here, in the heart of this peace, that we want to talk about the darkest of all topics, war. More specifically, the wars that have been and still are fought in the name of God. My guests today are once again Jesus, Mohammed, and Buddha. I'd like to address the question directly to you because it's on the minds of millions. In your names, crusades were launched, empires conquered, and holy wars waged. The cross was painted on swords, the flag of Islam brandished during conquests. How could your message of love, peace, and mercy be turned into a weapon? Jesus, the crusades bore your name.
Every time a person takes up arms against another in hatred while speaking my name, my teaching is crucified. I taught, love your enemies. I told the man who drew his sword to defend me, put your sword back in its place, for all who draw the sword will die by the sword. The men who marched with the cross on their chests to murder and plunder turned the symbol of my sacrifice into its exact opposite. They did not follow me. They followed their greed for land, for power, and the deceptive justification of acting in the name of God.
Mohammed, the term jihad, is today, for many, directly synonymous with holy war and terror. What went so terribly wrong with this concept?
It is the greatest misunderstanding. The greatest jihad, the jihad al-akbar, is the struggle that every person wages within their own heart, the struggle against one's own greed, one's own hatred, one's own ego. That is the holiest of all struggles. Armed conflict was only ever permitted as a final defensive necessity to protect the community from annihilation. And even then, under the strictest rules, do not attack civilians, do not poison wells, do not destroy crops. What later rulers did, waging wars for wealth and territorial expansion, was a betrayal of God and His mercy. They called it jihad, but it was merely worldly greed in a religious guise.
So you both speak of a perversion of your teachings by human greed and the lust for power. Buddha, you have analyzed the human psyche in depth. What is this mechanism in humans that can turn even the most peaceful message into a banner for conflict?
It is the attachment to an identity. The human mind tends to say I, and then it says we. As soon as a we exists, we Christians, we Muslims, we Buddhists, the mind inevitably creates the others. This distinction is the root of conflict. The teaching is then no longer seen as a path to liberation for all beings, but as a possession, a feature of one's own tribe that must be defended.
So it's about this human urge to define oneself through a we, and in doing so, to separate oneself from the others.
That is exactly what I saw in the Pharisees of my time. They clung to their rules and their identity as the pure ones, forgetting the most important thing, love and mercy. They defended their walls instead of opening their hearts.
The Quran explicitly warns against splitting the faith into factions and fighting one another. The oneness of God demands the fundamental unity of humanity. Remember that you all descend from Adam, and that the noblest among you in the sight of God is not the strongest, but the most righteous and God-fearing. Therefore, when you fight one another, you are fighting brother against brother. As soon as loyalty to a group, a tribe, or a nation becomes greater than loyalty to God and His justice, the betrayal begins.
Thank you all for these clear answers. And now, over to you, who are listening to this broadcast. Do you also have a question you would like to ask the spiritual leaders? Then write to us on the social media channels of Ville. Perhaps your question will become the topic of a future episode. Join us again next Sunday.